Alright, well, so the Hornet's Nest has been kicked. We've taken this city of Diathma and we've raided a few villages in here. It's kind of a matter of time before we're besieged. And Diathma is a city that I've identified as a city that has potential for very, very good siege defense for this epic siege series. This series was inspired by people's desire to see larger and larger sieges, and so we are now looking all across the map of Calradia for cities to defend. Now, I have a pretty good-sized army here. It's not the largest army we've had in a while. In fact, it's under 300 troops, but I've got a sturdy companion here, and now we await to see if any forces want to join us. I'll gather up a few troops here just because it is kind of a small defense size. There's a couple hundred militia, and now we await an enemy onslaught. And as often is the case here, war against everybody, there are volunteers in a hurry. The Northern Empire force of 1,500 is moving in. That's not really large enough to qualify for epic siege, but as in often the case in our campaign here, where there's one army, there's another one lurking right around the corner. So we'll probably break in to make a defense here at Diathma. Diathma has some nice nooks and crannies and angles that I think are going to make for interesting siege defense here. And I'm going to try something new in this episode. I'm going to use a bow and arrow, assuming I can find the right equipment here. My original campaign, my first campaign before this one, I used a bow and arrow, and like a lot of people, I fell in love with it. You know, it's very nice for siege defense, and it has value on a horse. But in this campaign, I really did discover javelins to their full effect. I enjoyed fighting on the ground more often. Yeah, he's got 289 bow skills. So Zuvan is more than capable of fighting with the bow. It's just not a skill that I have a lot of recent experience. Still, some people are curious and wanted to see, you know, a siege defense from the perspective of bow. And looking over this city before this battle, it looks like a good city for the defense with a bow. So we're gonna break in here. And we're outnumbered 2-1, but I'm hopeful, as isn't often the case, more Northern Empire forces will arrive. Now, I'm also running some javelins. I don't know if you noticed that, but I realized I don't have to dump all my javelins. So I have like 10 or 15 javelins, and I have a really nice quiver of high-end arrows. That'll give me like 35 arrows to use. Now, again, it's not a skill that I'm highly practiced at. I imagine some people will be snickering at my use of the bow here. Well, here you go, right? Ask and you shall receive. We got fucking 3 armies joining this other force. None of the armies individually are huge, but together they represent a massive defense force. So do last couple upgrades here and await the storm. We've got a couple hundred militia here. Like I said, we've got a sturdy companion who has like 200 skills in steward and whatnot. And we'll see how many Northern Empire forces this is. This looks like another siege of over 4,000. And more are coming, as is often the case. It's an absolute smorgasbord for scenarios like this. 4,600 Northern Empire fucks pouring in here. They're building a siege tower. It doesn't really matter though. This city has an outstanding courtyard, and we are going to try a unique defense here. We are going to try to defend primarily this courtyard. This courtyard is large. It has multiple different locations for archers to sit, and I'm going to be able to position infantry at vulnerable locations to sort of fend off the enemy infantry wave attacks. Yeah, look at this beautiful thing here. So the angles of this are beautifully designed for archers to get crossfire, right? This is literally how they would design castles in the past, so that if one archer was under attack, other archers at different locations could then maul the enemy that was attacking or approaching those archers. This is a beautiful setup. So the 5th Corps I'm going to assign as crossbows. It's not all crossbow, but you see there's quite a few guys in there with Pavis shields and shit like that. And the benefit of that is I can square those guys. Anytime those guys are under assault in the courtyard, I can simply tell those guys to square. Now it's interesting, there's infantry mixed into there. I see palace guards and whatnot, but that's just fine too. It's totally fine to have a mix of infantry and archers here. In fact, the infantry then do a good job of sort of beating off offensive attacks anytime the enemy's going to be attacking those crossbow. Now look at this 8th Corps Hopefully I could stretch this back here. Well, okay, that's a little better. What I want to do is I want to get these guys roughly lined up with these little openings here, these little murder holes. It's giving me a fit, but the idea here is that these guys at the very back of this courtyard the whole time should be able to fight in relative safety, and of course pound the enemy with arrows. It's giving me a real hard time here. But the 8th Corps, it normally is all elite companions, but for these siege series, I've really started to distribute my companions across the different armies, across the different army groups, that is. Come on, boys. Spread. Actually, that's beautiful. So each guy is kind of staring through one of those holes. That's going to work. Now look at this shit here. Not many cities have these. All of them should have it, but look at this. I can take this fucking division of archers, this 4th division, and spread them out on the rooftop to just pound the gate. So let's see. I have this other archer division, the 7th. Same thing, right? These two different areas, and it looks like they're accessible via little stairs or ladders there. Well, we're going to defend those, right? We're not going to let the enemy just easily storm up there. So the 1st division at the gate. The 2nd division I'm going to use over here to prevent the enemy from pouring over these ladders into our forces, especially this 8th, this archer division at the back. I wish I could move the siege around. The siege is not in the correct setting. Sometimes you can move siege and sometimes you don't. If you know why that is, please let me know in the comments. I'm very curious. A lot of times in battle you can move the siege beforehand, assign a catapult over here, etc. But sometimes they're grayed out like this. So the 3rd Corps over there on the right, 1st Corps guarding the gate, will probably be squaring them because we want the enemy to be trickling through the front gate. The 6th skirmishers here, which is actually a mix of archers and skirmishers. You can see there's more Pavis shield motherfuckers in there. And that's just fine, right? What we want to do is hit the enemy with ammunition here, with bolts, with arrows, with javelins from different directions, right? We want to teach these fucks a lesson here for besieging our castle, our city here. Now you notice I'm not really putting guys on the walls. That's a common feature in this series. If you're outnumbered like this, what is it, 5, 6, 7 to 1 actually? I guess 4,600 to 7. It's at least outnumbered 6 to 1 here. If you put guys on the walls, unfortunately they don't use the little cover murder holes correctly, and they get shot to pieces. Your whole row will be killed quickly. So this is what the 5th looks like when I square it. And anytime I want, I can kind of turn those guys into a defensive unit. We will also use them to charge and shield wall to help repel enemy assaults. Alright, so trusty bow here. I literally haven't fired a bow more than a handful of times in weeks. We'll see how this goes here. See if we can dial in our skill. Of course, I have a 4K monitor. That helps. And we'll go to work here. Of course, there's arrow barrels all over in a city like this. At this stage, of course, we want to use these cats. Get out of the way, this fucking dipshit. Move, dumbass. So these arrow barrels, of course, you can just reload. Now, these guys are firing their javelins, but they're doing it at a long distance. I don't think they're going to do a lot of damage at that distance, so I'm going to have those guys hold fire, right? We don't need them to waste javelins throwing at the enemy at maximum range. You want to have your projectile units, especially in an open field battle, using what I would consider optimal range. For crossbows and arrows, that's about 120 yards or units or less. And for javelins, I would say it's about 50 yards. And if you have a hard time estimating that, I don't actually know how to help you. The ram maybe is 20 yards long. It's just something you're going to have to get a feel for as a commander. So this is where I want the bombs, these explodable bombs. But because it didn't let me, I've got some stones right there. Because it didn't let me place them here, I'm stuck running around like a dipshit with a fucking big Easter egg here. Now look at these guys. These guys are perfectly positioned here. Not from their perspective, from our perspective, to kill them with bombs. Do a little sniping here. Of course, you're aiming for heads anytime that you're bow and arrow. This is not rocket science. I'm sure half you guys out there are like masters of fucking games where you shoot guys in the head. But as you can see, I'm picking it up a little bit like riding a bike, right? I'm not going to be the best archer out there, but you can rack up kills pretty safely because, of course, unlike the AI, we're able to move back and forth between the cover where the enemy largely can't attack you, right? You shoot, and as you're reloading, you take cover. And and then all of a sudden you shoot the next guy, right? It's quite lethal. I can understand why most players, or a lot of players, prefer bow and arrow. Now these bombs are positioned beautifully, right? We're right next to these siege ladders, so we're going to be able to rain down fucking holy hell and shrapnel on these Northern Empire guys here on our right flank. But I'm foreseeing a problem here. I don't have any troops to support us here. I have these two companions on this. Yeah, they're already coming. I have these two companions here, and we're being assaulted now by several Northern Empire elite infantry. This is not a terrific situation for us. Do some work here with my 330 axe, and we still maul these guys, but they're coming up that ladder and they're not about to stop coming, right? They're going to be just streaming up that. It's going to make these explodable rounds, these explodable balls, much harder to use. And as you can see, my companions here are not able just to cut their way through like I can. They don't have the AI just simply doesn't use. Catch that one, motherfucker. The AI simply just doesn't use 330 two-handed athletics the way that I can. Oh shit, as I get beat down here. Let me show you how to use it and get beat down. Now, so the enemy does a decent job of fighting, but if you ever watch like one of your companions that has a high two-handed skill and high athleticism, it's astonishing how often they just kind of stand there, or they're parrying no attack. They just hold their axe up. It's pretty sad, actually. Alright, so we're in the courtyard here, and this is the feature of this city's defense. This is a nasty courtyard, and we are going to defend this like it's our Alamo, right? These guys can be attacked on the railing up there. They have no cover. The gate, of course, we've got multiple crossfires into here, right? I can shoot the guys at the edges. I guess I can't fall in love with my bow and arrow. I haven't done a lot of the hybrid approach here, so this will be sort of interesting for me to try. But you can see what we got going on here. We got 4 different archer divisions and a crossbow, or and a javelin division, pounding the guys at the gate, and they can support each other, right? They're not strictly going to be attacking the gate here. I can shoot these guys in the head here, standing on these ramparts. These guys are literally fish in a barrel. Just one guy after another, headshot, Lord killed, and then assist these guys as well. So this is where it's nice to have javelins and arrows, right? Now I can throw it right through the shields of these guys and kill elite infantry. That's a big weakness of bows and arrows, is that unless you're shooting at their feet or you get a lucky shot in, it's not much use against guarded, shielded opponents. Now this is okay, right? I am going to hit some shields there, shooting over their head, but certainly you have a better chance of getting headshots shooting from these kind of angles. And talk about safety, right? I can literally just snipe up here. Of course, again, I don't have the greatest skill with my bow and arrow, but I can certainly see the allure. Every single archer here in this line is shooting. That is beautiful. Like half of those guys are Britannian Fiend champs. So we have, I call this a death factory. Anytime we've sort of set up a siege recipe, oh shit, the enemy rallied a huge amount of troops and charged here. We might have to actually pull this 8th division to help push this back. It's all elite infantry and it's pounding our square here. Yeah. So let's get this 8th. These guys have multi-purpose uses. We're going to bring these guys over here, and we're going to try to fucking liberate this square from this assault. Get the fuck back here. Actually, let's cost you your head there. It's a head tax. All right, we're barreling in here. The enemy sees this as a threat, and we're going to charge with both this 8th Corps and the 2nd Division. It's time for some bloody fighting here. There's a huge amount of elite infantry here of the enemy. In fact, I'm like pushed against the wall by the press of their forces. I got to be careful or else I'll get into a lot of trouble. But we're starting to maul them now. Our Britannian Fiend champs are frothing at the mouth, charging. The screen is entirely green, even though the enemy has elite units here. That was a complete massacre. And again, you see the advantage of uses, multiple uses of units, and units that were in defensive squares all of a sudden being unleashed like dogs of war. Now, I don't see any explodable bombs here. I wish I had some explodable bombs. Here, we'll get the 8th Corps reset kind of on that line. But I do see some fucking full things of javelins here. And that's, unfortunately, there's no javelin barrels. Whoever the city makers were too lazy to put fucking piles of javelins out here for us to use. Because, of course, if you can have an arrow barrel, you should be able to have a fucking javelin barrel. This is not that complicated of a concept. But alas, us javelin throwers are out of luck. Still, we can just switch to bow and arrow, right? And it's just mass death spam. You could see the other companions' arrows just raining in there. And anytime there's a little tiny gap in the enemy's armor, they get skewered by bows and arrows. Meanwhile, I'm skewering people with my javelins. I really am, with this configuration, a complete death machine, right? Guys on the walls get smoked with arrows. Anybody that has their head sticking up for 2 seconds gets smoked. And then, of course, anybody who's guarding with the shield, I can just simply kill them whenever I want with a javelin. If they get too close, of course, then they get to face 300. I see you, bitch. Here, have this one. Oh, right through the fucking back of her shield. Well, we still got some more for you. Have a headshot there, dude. You guys can all catch one. And it's a very lethal combination, these 3 skills. Incidentally, of course, this is part of the reason why my character is spec'd for melee. Because command, there is benefits of having high leadership, high steward, high medicine skill. I would say medicine is probably the skill that if I had to pick those 3, I would choose, because of the perk that gives you massive hit points for your troops. Where the fuck these guys going? Archers trying to spread out in our courtyard and shoot? I don't fucking think so, motherfuckers. This is our courtyard. So we're charging with the crossbow units here. We just turned our infantry, or archers, into infantry here. We're not about to let these guys... It looks like they're trying to rally, actually. And the only thing that there's going to be left of them to rally is a handful of guys without an arm. We're just carving through these guys. They've got a bunch of troops that are rallying up by the siege ladders, and it is a good strategy by the AI because they'll get like 150 guys there and charge you at the same time. But if you can catch them while they're trying to rally like that, they really are fish in a barrel. These guys are fish in a barrel too. These are archers, and they're just running to that rally spot. We can get our bow skill practice on here, and then switch immediately to a two-handed axe. I mean, you see how lethal this combination is. But this is why my character is spec'd primarily for combat. The benefit of being able to command your units and then go in and fucking wreck face and just absolutely destroy 150 or 200 enemies on your own, to me exceeds the value of having like 280 steward and whatnot. I already have an army of 300 plus most of the time. That's more than enough if they're elite units. And I have like, I think I want to say 230 steward or something like that. But I would always focus on the melee side of things early in a campaign. Commanding ability, I think, is more important than the actual skills for steward and perks and stuff like that. Even the tactics perk has, to me, marginal value compared to the ability to you yourself kill like 100 guys, 150 guys in a battle, and then, of course, command units at the same time. Where the fuck are you going? What's that thing from Goodfellas? Where you going? No, Casino. Where you going, Jagoff? You ain't going anywhere. Alright, so you see our archers on those roofs are absolutely destroying everything in sight. They don't need an arrow barrel. They have unlimited ammo. I've got a couple companions following me here just because their unit got to the point where it was no longer valuable. That's a trick, of course, most of you probably know. If you got a guy coming at you with a shield, just shoot him in the foot. It shouldn't be fatal, but it is. It is in the game anyways. It'd be nice if they kind of start hopping towards you or something like that, but maybe we'll have to wait for a mod to have that kind of detail to it. Alright, so we're going to continue to let the enemy come in on the side of this square, and all I want to do is just slightly let the enemy in, right? We want to open it up so that they can fucking be shot from the sides. There's a bit of a scrum right here that I'm going to try to help. And I see the fucking enemy rallying down there, these motherfuckers. That's where those archers were running to, right? They're trying to get a whole bunch of guys here, and what they'll do is they'll rush you all at the same time then. So we're going to shoot as many of these fucks as we can. They're probably going to aggro to me. I'm surprised they're not. I'm just fucking drilling them. So that's in the back of my mind. Those guys over there are going to charge. But I want to pay more attention to the gate. We can deal with those side guys, but the gate is where the blowout is likely to occur. If the enemy starts pouring through the gate, we've got problems. So I have the 5th again charging in shield wall. That's the multi-use of a crossbow division. Oh, hello, Lord. We like killing lords. Let's shoot this lord in the back. Yeah, they are rallying a massive amount of troops to that location. They're just like forcing their way in. It's an interesting strategy. They're getting out of line of sight of our archers, and then presumably they're all going to charge at once. I mean, it's not the worst AI. There's some dynamism to it. And when these sides do both charge, we're going to have some problems. But we're also laying waste to their guys as they move. Their shield wall was not effective, and we caused major damage. Now, they are setting up in the courtyard here, and our main gate is melting away. Our defense, our defense at the main gate there is starting to melt. So it's heavy blows here now. I don't have a lot of units to get in the square right now, and we're going to try to defend the gate as best as we can with what we have here. It's starting to break down a little bit. My priority now is to try to protect those archers on those elevated platforms. Those guys are dealing death. If I can keep those guys safe and shooting uninterrupted, they're going to do major damage the rest of this battle. These guys are all after the fucking 1 million dinar ransom for the Lord, for the Jarl. They ain't getting it, though. They're getting their arms ripped off. Okay, I've got an archer division, and the second corps is reinforcements, and they're fucking militia. But it is what it is, right? We'll use militia in this battle. Let's get these other militia, these archer militias pushed back. These guys are going to take a beating because the enemy just absolutely flooded the front gate. I probably should have had one of those side infantry divisions assigned to the front gate to prevent this, but it is what it is. We're going to play through this now and try to recover. These militia are being fucking destroyed. Absolutely overwhelmed, but my 7th Corps and 5th Corps, or it's the 4th Corps, those guys on those rooftops continue to do their job, right? They're racking up kills. Every time I glance over there, I see arrows firing down here. It's almost worth it to have a chaotic scrum in this central gatehouse as long as those 70, 80 guys up there are firing unimpeded. I can see that they're safe over there. Now that's going to change if we can't repel this invasion force. I need an infantry division that's actually going to hold the gate. That militia force held for like fucking 20 seconds and just got immolated. It's kind of getting ugly right now. More reinforcements came up, but these are the weakest of the weak militia. This is literally guys swinging blacksmith's hammers. So these guys aren't going to last very long. Nevertheless, we will use them if they're willing to be sacrificed. Mars is eager for more blood here. Let's get these guys in a square. I'm having a hard time positioning them, but we're going to try to get the fuck off this guy. Blocks 30 shots in a row. Of course, he's Sturgian infantry. There's no tougher infantry in the game than Sturgian. I don't know if there's any good blocking the gate at this point. The enemy just poured through like 500 troops. Well, it's 499, 498, 497, 496, right? Because these guys, again, they continue to try to reform to our left side. Now they're starting to shoot. These motherfuckers, they're starting to shoot our 7th Corps over here. So that's a problem. But they're not about to take fucking shots while I'm here. And we're going to at least keep these guys occupied and kill lots of these archers so they can't shoot. These guys are not going to be able to do any damage while they're in the courtyard, but them shooting up there can. So we're going to try to prevent that shit. The main gate I see is being swarmed. That next batch of militia is just going to melt away quickly. If I don't have another infantry batch, and I'll be shocked if I don't, but if I don't have another one, this siege is lost. The enemy is now pouring in at our defensive forces there. The 7th Corps is going to get overwhelmed. They have fucking archers now in the courtyard. It looks like my reinforcements are trapped. They can't get through that wall. So it's starting to look a little bit rough, but those archers here behind me are still protected. And these guys, of course, are like fucking paper to my axe. Out of the way. Okay, so this infantry division finally pushed through. They're up here roaring. And it's mercifully, it's high-end troops. So we're going to be able to plug this gate, at least temporarily. Get over here. Right there. Put your fat asses in the gate and hold that shit. Once we get these guys positioned, it'll be time to free the rest of these forces from assault. The enemy now is fully magnetized to the square. They're being shot in the back by the 4th Corps behind me. And just like that, this siege is starting to look stable. We may not win, but at least for the moment, we've got the upper hand. The archers there are actually kind of jammed up. The reinforcements are coming in. There's too many on the roof. These guys here are being assaulted and shot. Let's bring these archers down in the courtyard. I think more of them will get line of sight that way. It's going to take about 20 seconds to get them down there, but I think that time sacrifice is worth it. I got to watch my health here. I'm down to a sliver. It's very hard to survive these epic siege series intact. The enemy's assaulting me and chasing after me. They're shooting at me. You know, it's important to survive, though. If I don't survive, all of a sudden the AI takes over, even for a few seconds, and the siege can go sideways. This gate will get blown open because who knows what they'll do with this square. They won't do intelligent things, though. That's what we know. Okay, so now the archers are through. We can get these guys spread out. I can retreat to their cover fire here, help them out with these guys sort of pursuing them, and I think the death spam is about to occur here. Yeah, I don't think so. No shooting at our archers, dude. What's this? This is more infantry heading to the front gate, which is fucking amazing timing. That square is starting to break a little bit. These guys come in. I can just rake these guys from the side. I mean, it's an absolute headshot fest. Just fucking dropping one guy after another. The 7th Corps is being kind of swarmed over there, but this 4th Corps here is completely unmolested. I mean, they are just going to be able to rake the enemy here. What do we got going on here? So the enemy's got more troops coming up this side over here. We'll reload our arrows here. I got to be careful, though. At this stage, it just takes a single arrow and I'm dropped. Nobody's coming. Let's get these guys better stretched out. Get over here. I like to have them in a nice wide arc. That way a lot of them are shooting the enemy from the side. There's one guy chasing after us over here. Now we could shoot some of these guys over the fucking top of this infantry. We gotta be careful not to kill our own guys, though. I'm sure Argyl's like, kill one, make sure you keep winning, man. Alright, so the 7th Corps is bundled up. We'll bring them down in the courtyard as well. At this stage, the enemy has almost nobody on the walls, so we'll get our infantry, or our archers, protected in the courtyard itself. Get these guys spread out, and they'll help me handle these guys charging them. Playing a little bit more defensive than I normally do, just because I don't want to get dropped. If I get dropped here, this battle might be over. Look at this. Look at this. This is savage. I mean, these guys are absolutely cooked. So you get a bird's eye view of what our archers are seeing. They're just seeing fucking lightly armored archers and infantry shot in the neck and being completely skewered. Of course, I have friendly fire. I can hit my own guys, but your own troops can't hit your troops. And so it's sort of this unfair maelstrom of infantry going crazy and archers just smoking everything in sight. The enemy's focus is now at the gate, and that's a mistake, right? We can just simply bring these guys back, drag this square, and expose the enemy to murderous fucking crossfire. I mean, they are getting smoked by the dozen, and I think they just broke. Charge. We're not about to let reinforcements come up and fucking have them make another surge. They are making another surge. Fuck you. Sometimes the one group will rout and the rest won't. We're going to charge here. We're going to get some Anabolitons on their face and change their mind. You don't want any part of this castle siege, boys. They're starting to rally too. You see them running around skirmishing. They're like skittish, looking for an exit. And that's that. This siege is over. We can get a little more practice here, rack up a few more kills. Of course, I'm gaining bow skill. I just looked down. It was up to 295. I don't use a bow very often, but obviously, you know, still got some skill that I retained here. Way back in the day, I was really good at first-person shooters. You know, before my reflexes turned to a 50-year-old man reflexes. Way back in the day, you know, I was one of those guys sniping everybody and pissing people off at like Quake and shit like that. But it still applies, right? You can still whip out a bow and arrow and do major damage in a keep siege defense here. And what a defense that was. Now, I think the only thing that's left is for them to run. And there you have it. The enemy is fleeing. Well, it wasn't an easy victory, but that courtyard massacre was intense. 4,200 enemies we killed here, and the rest fled, and I don't blame them, right? We gained 6 skills to our bow, right? We're getting a little bit better. I'm maxed out on the perks, but I think you get more damage and faster speed by shooting. May experiment a little bit more with bow in the future. We'll see. What do you guys think of that bow work there? Is it preferable for you guys to see, or maybe you don't give a shit, but is it interesting to see defense from a bow perspective? I might try it out in a few more of these episodes. It's certainly safer and more sustainable than throwing javelins, but I like the mix too. It was nice having javelins with them. All right, well, by this series standards, that was sort of short and sweet. A 25-minute siege, that qualifies as a lightning-fast epic siege series here today. Almost 4,600 Northern Empire forces. We gather up all these lords and slap them on the ass and say, come back next time, bring more forces. That 4,600 wasn't nearly enough, and we move about on this epic siege series. For this series, I'm readily taking requests. Now I'm going to be, summer vacation and whatnot. I won't be able to do requests overnight like I can sometimes. But if you want to see a particular city or castle defended or a situation, let me know. I'm eager to take on challenges that you guys see as difficult. I don't know if I can succeed. It doesn't mean that I can just handle every situation. It's not like I'm fucking Yoda. But I do like challenges. There's even a possibility down the road that I request guys send a save game of battles that are very difficult for them to handle to me, and basically sort of let me jump into their shoes and show them sort of what I would try in their given situation. Again, it doesn't mean I'll have success. I may get my ass kicked worse than the loss that these guys are seeing. But that might be something I endeavor to do down the road. Looking for other ways to expand the channel and make it more interesting, and also to increase interactions with you fellas. I recognize that you fellas are the only reason the channel exists. If you guys weren't watching these videos, I wouldn't be making them. So with that said, please subscribe if you want to see more of this epic siege series. We're gonna keep cranking out these epic siege series as long as I can find epic sieges to fight. So let me know what you think. Please comment and like and all that kind of good stuff. Subscribe if you're interested. It helps the channel. With all that said, friends, I will see you guys next time.